Hello everyone, it's me, Emelena, and today I'm going to be talking about some delusions that I've had. And the reason I decided to make this video is because I was talking to some people in my Discord community, and they were basically telling me that they were interested in what type of delusions I used to suffer from about 15 years ago, because trust me, they were pretty wild. And first I want to start out by giving a definition of delusional. So I'm just going to read it right here from Google. A delusion is a false belief or judgment about external reality held despite incontrovertible evidence of the contrary as a symptom of serious mental illness. Now, I'll preface this by saying that I was incredibly sucked into conspiracy tube back in like the 2010s. I used to watch a lot of videos and documentaries and things like that would just go deep into the wild woods of conspiracy theories. Like, I believe that pop stars were all mind controlled by the government and they were being sent across seas to our political enemies to extract, political information. I believed that people that people like Britney Spears and Nicki Minaj were actually like they had like some form of DID from being abused as children by these like ritualistic satanic people in the government. Like, I believed a lot of crazy shit. And you'll remember that there was a time when music videos were flooded with occult imagery because they were basically playing on the fact that these conspiracies were so popular. I really believed in them. So every music video I saw, I was like, look at that, there's an Illuminati signal, look at that. Oh my God, there's the thing about ritual, though she's being mind controlled. I thought Lady Gaga was like some sort of high priestess along with Madonna, and that's why they had like a rivalry. So I believed in a lot of wild shit is what I'm telling you. So with that said, let's get started. I just talked to you about how I believed in the Illuminati, and I believed in like Britney Spears being mind controlled. And there was this thing called, I can't remember what it was called, but it was like Project Monarch or something. And there's not a lot of evidence for this stuff other than on YouTube. I do know that at some point the government did try to mind control people using acid. Maybe. I mean, that could have been another conspiracy that I learned about. Who knows? I believe that like people like Jay-Z were in a position of power and like controlled Beyonce and like forced her to make music and to dance and to basically do whatever it is that she does to make him money. And it wasn't just Jay-Z, it was tons of artists and singers who I believe were in like some secret satanic worshiping cult in Hollywood and in the music industry. And I think it was Interscope Records that really embraced this occult Masonic imagery, like the black and white tile floors, the pillars. I think like they did a lot of upside down crosses. Oh, I also believe that like Lady Gaga's performance in 2009 of Paparazzi was like some sort of ritual, which is with the blood and everything. It was some sort of like her coming into Hollywood and basically saying like, yes, I'm part of the Illuminati or whatever. I also believe that many movies and books and other forms of media, namely music videos, were sending messages to other members of the Illuminati or other people in the know about what's going on in the industry, which if you think about it, that doesn't really make sense, because why would they be putting it out there for everybody to see? For the conspiracy theorists to basically deconstruct and figure out, which they were doing in music, which they were doing constantly in videos. Like, they would watch music videos and just break them down. You can probably still find some of these videos to this day. Another one of my really common delusions is that I think I'm in a simulation or some sort of simulated hell where everybody's been replaced by a clone or a different version of themselves, such as I would think that Josh isn't real. I also would think there was a tracking device in my arm that was meant to keep track of me while I was going through this like simulated hell or simulation, like I was the only person that was in it. Have you ever seen The Good Place? So like in The Good Place, there's this idea that they're being tortured in their own personal hell, but it's meant to look like heaven, right? And like there's a character who catches on to this pretty early on, and it turns out she just catches on to it over and over again, and then they have to reboot it. And this is what I was thinking was happening to me, that I was in some sort of simulated hell or simulation where they were trying to torture me and ruin my life and just basically watch me suffer for their amusement. And there was really no way out of this. Now, I do have an interesting delusion that's sort of fixed that I still suffer from to this day, that someone's gonna break into my house and try to steal all my valuable shit, even though I don't have much valuable shit, or commit some atrocity against me. I keep my doors and windows locked. I'm constantly checking my windows and doors all the time. Like, I just checked the lock on my front door. That's what I'm looking at. And like, that's like sort of a delusion that I guess I would call it fixed, because it just doesn't go away. It's very loyal. It always shows back up. Another delusion that I have is that I think that I'm really dead, that I died a long time ago, and that this is just hell. So that's something else and that's like a red flag when I start thinking something like, am I really dead? Maybe I'm already dead. I know that like psychosis is starting to set in, because that always leads to thoughts of like me being in some simulated hell. Or like, I have scars on my arm, this arm, from like some self-harm that I engaged in years and years and years ago. And sometimes I will trick myself into believing that that's where they put a chip in, that that's what the scar is, even though I did it to myself. But I will like think like, maybe they just replaced my memories, which leads me into another delusion I have, where I think that like somebody, I don't know who they are, but somebody is deleting my memories and replacing them with different ones. I don't know why. Before I continue, I just want to say I don't know where these come from. These are just crazy, wild thoughts that come into my mind that they can be triggered by certain stimuli, but for the most part, they're just delusions that just cropped up one day. And they tend to go in cycles. Like, when I hit psychosis, there will be some of these delusions will be present. And like I said, the one about people breaking into my house is very fixed. That stays. It never goes away. Another delusion that I had, but I don't actually think it's a delusion, is that the government uses pop music to keep the masses quiet and unconcerned with the reality of how horrible the world is. I don't really think that's a delusion. I think that's just a fact. Pop music is horrible, at least common pop. I really like pop music, so you can imagine how I feel when I see all this like just super meaningless, soulless pop all over the radio that everybody loves and gobbles up for some fucking reason, but it's really just soulless and has no meaning behind it, and it's not interesting, and it's the same boom 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 fucking chord progression over and over again, the same vocal melodies and the same beats and the same everything. Now, I don't know if this one counts as a delusion, but I have something recently that came with a lot of anxieties where I think I'm gonna choke to death. Now, as a child, I did actually choke, and I think that this is just me dealing with that trauma as an adult, because I never dealt with it as a kid and as a teen or in my early 20s, and I think that all the stuff I didn't deal with when I was younger is starting to come back to haunt me now. So I kind of talked about how I think that Josh has been replaced. This feeds into a bigger delusion where I think that the world, I think that I've moved into an alternative universe of some sort, and so the Josh that I'm aware of is no longer here, and the Josh that I see now, or when I'm under this delusion, is a different version of him, or a clone, or another universe version, and that he doesn't really love me, he's just playing along because he's been paid off by the authorities to do so. Another pretty common delusion that I'll have when I'm under psychosis is I will think that Josh is cheating on me, or that he doesn't really love me, that he doesn't really want to be around me, but he just stays with me because, you know, he's used to me. And I always think he's trying to replace me with someone better because I have such low self-esteem, and I think these things just feed into each other, like, you know what I mean? Like, my low self-esteem, my anxiety feeds into my psychosis and vice versa. And so I will actually believe that he just doesn't want to be around me. I will take every little thing that he says or doesn't say as a slight against me, and needless to say, this will cause me to be a fucking bitch without cause, and he'll just be like, what the fuck? Sometimes he's come to recognize it, you know, especially now that he's been through it before, but thankfully I haven't had that thought in a really long time because we have a really strong bond, and so for like years now we've just been able to communicate and get over our problems. But before we hit that, I swear to God, I was just a fucking bitch because I didn't think he was who he said he was. Another pretty strong delusion that seems to come back a lot is the thought that there's cameras behind my mirrors, or that my mirrors are two-way and there's people watching me behind them, or that the mirrors in my house have been replaced with some sort of, I don't know, like something that is a camera that is watching me, that is keeping tabs on me for somebody or something. It's like I said earlier, I don't know who they are, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day, to be honest. But I always feel like somebody's watching me, whether it's the government or like evil entities or gang stalkers or something like that. And in my past, I actually know a person who was really gang stalked, and because of that, it furthers this belief that that could really be happening to me as well. And to go back and touch on the thing with the mirrors, this is really debilitating because I also have like strange hallucinations that happen in mirrors as well. If I stare at myself too long in the mirror, I'll feel like I'm somebody else. I'll have an identity issue. I'll feel like someone else is looking at me, which feeds into the cameras watching me or somebody back there watching me. And so it keeps me from looking in mirrors. And I've talked about this before. It's probably best that I stay away from mirrors anyway, because I have a tendency to look at myself in the mirror and just say horrible, despicable things to myself. And when I'm having these delusions that I think there's someone else watching me, or that my face doesn't look quite as it should look in the mirror, and when I think that there's like a camera behind the mirror, mirrors are a no-go. They're just a negative thing, and sometimes I want to cover them up. I want to throw like sheets or something over them just to keep them from looking at me, because it truly feels like someone else is staring back at me when I look in a mirror. And that's probably one of the scariest delusions I have, outside of thinking that somebody's breaking into my house. Now, I've had some really scary hallucinations, and I don't think I've really talked about those before, but delusions can be pretty harrowing as well. They can be pretty horrifying, honestly. And because the belief that someone's trying to hurt you, or someone wants to break into your house, or that someone wants to commit atrocities against you, or that people are watching you through cameras all over your house, or through a camera in your bathroom mirror, all of that is incredibly scary. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today. If you liked the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching and have a great day.